So hello everybody. Today we'll go through what is an interface in Go. So let us take an example of dependency injection pattern, and we'll try it with interface injection pattern. So I hope everybody has basics and we'll try to understand how to make use of interface for this pattern. So let us create an interface, something like user repository. Obviously it will be having a method. Let us create something like get user by ID. Obviously it will take an int. It will return an error, uh, user, and an error. So let us also create an error of user. Let us add some fields like name and ID. So I think I kept here wrong. So this is the way. So once we create user repository, now the next thing is we need to implement it. So let's create another struct. Let's say it's an in-memory repository. So what does it mean by in-memory repository? So you can store the user either in memory or in any other database like MySQL, Postgres. So let us say we are trying to storing in memory. So we will be using map to store user information, something like this. Map of int to user. Now we will try to implement this get user by ID using this in-memory repository struct. Means in-memory repository struct will honor the implementation of this method in this interface. So something like this will create pointer receiver of in-memory repository and it will copy the method signature. So if you're using any IntelliJ IDE, something like this, you'll definitely come to know. So the get user by ID is being implemented by this in-memory repository. So we'll write the logic like in-memory and we'll pass the ID. So let us use ID here. So if ID is present, we will return the user and nil. Else we'll return the errors. So you can see here, right? Will return proper error information. No user found for the given ID. Correct. So what is another scenario? Like let me say I don't want to use in-memory repository. I want to use DB, MySQL DB to store the data in MyDB. So in that case, it becomes very difficult where to use it. So now the most important thing is we are trying to do a dependency injection. So now this part will cover how to do it. So let us create one more struct called user service, which will take a field of user interface user repository. So this is what I call as dependency injection. Here we can pass different structs or the types which will implement the user repository. Okay, so let us understand what I mean by that. Let us create an instance or the constructor for this user service. So what this new user service will take? Obviously, it has this field called user repository, so it needs to take a parameter of type user repository, and obviously it will return the user service. sorry, user service. So hopefully this makes sense. Similarly, the same thing will write the constructor for the in memory as well. So here it will return the in memory repository. So here it is a map. So we'll make use of the make. So this is more intuitive to understand, right? So let us write a client. So we will create an instance of this new memory instance function in memory. Now user wants to use the in memory repository. Okay. So now that now we can use that implementation get user by ID. So here you can see here, right, new user service. Here it accepts user repository, which is an interface. So any struct that implements get user by ID method will can be passed to this new user service. So you can see here new get user ID is being implemented by in-memory repository struct. So new in-memory repository it will return in-memory repository struct. Okay. So now we'll call new user service. This is takes the repository. So in memory it implements the get user by ID. Now we can use it user repository dot get user by ID. Let us pass something here one. So this will go into this function. Now suppose let's say the server side implementation we want to store it in some other DB. We'll do the same thing. If user want to store in DB, we'll create another struct and it constructor for it. Instead of saying in memory, like let's just say MySQLDB or MySQLDB repository. So here it will be same thing, new MySQL. Here we will return MySQLDB repository. Here it can be anything like MySQL dot. You can use the third-party libraries to connect. Here for just for understanding purpose, I am creating something like MySQL.db. Here we will return the MySQLDB. Let it say it can be anything. We are trying to instantiate a connection to MySQLDB. Correct? So it's showing red because we are not at all we have not yet imported any third-party libraries. So let us stick to this. So now we have to now this interface now this uh, get user by ID method has to be implemented by one more struct called as MySQLDB repository. So we'll use the same thing here. We'll copy paste. So instead of in-memory repository, it will be MySQLDB repository. Correct. Now we'll again make a call here query to db MySQLDB dot query dot get ID get user for this particular ID. So this is how we can do. Now to call that new MySQLDB repository, you have to create db memory new MySQLDB repository. So again, we have to pass it to new service DB memory. Now we can use the user repository get user by ID. Let's say like this. So this will definitely call the get user ID of this MySQLDB repository receiver. So you can see here there are two different implementations for the same. interface method. So you can see it, there are two implementations. I hope this is useful. Thank you.